Every year there are rookies that break out in a big way that were drafted in the later rounds or in some cases go undrafted. They can slip through the cracks of the draft process for X or Y reason, and in today's video, we are going to be discussing some of the biggest draft steals from the 2024 NFL Draft. And just because a player isn't selected on night 1 or even night 2 of the NFL Draft does not mean they are destined to be a career backup and that any chance of having a successful NFL career is out the window. Not even close. They just may have to work a little harder to get an opportunity in training camp and ultimately the preseason. But the players in today's video are looking like they will be a starter for the team that drafted them for the next few years and are already paying massive dividends to the franchise that selected them. And if a draft steal from your favorite team is not in today's video, that doesn't mean they weren't a great pick, and we will even go over a few at the end. In fact, there are a few dozen players that could qualify for today's video, and this is also not a ranking of the biggest draft steals by any means, and with that preface out of the way, let's begin. And we are starting today's video with Buccaneers running back Bucky Irving. Bucky was a 4th round pick from the University of Oregon and is having a very good rookie season all things considered. He is already over 1,000 total yards of offense and is currently on pace for 961 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns, along with an additional 36 receptions out of the backfield. The 2024 Bucs season has been anything but normal, as their top 2 receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin each miss time, and unfortunately Chris Godwin is done for the year. Somebody in the Bucs offense had to step up, and what you may not know or realize is the Bucs are 5th in the NFL in scoring. They have scored 30 or more points in 6 of their 13 games in 2024, and Bucky Irving has played a big part in this, as he has 6 rushing touchdowns on the year and is leading the 2024 draft class in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Now, while Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were out, it wasn't just Bucky stepping up, as I don't want to disrespect the highly underrated Cade Otton, but the point is, somebody had to step up, and Bucky has. And I think Tampa has a quality player in Bucky Irving for the next couple of years. The Baker Mayfield redemption in Tampa was fun in 2023, and I don't want to take anything away from that, but it was also painful at times watching the 2023 Buccaneers offense because of how one-dimensional they were. This also goes back to 2022 as well in Tom's final year, and for 2 consecutive years, Tampa was dead last in rushing offensively, which is a huge contrast to where they are in 2024. They are 4th in the NFL in yards per carry as a team, as they are averaging 5.1 yards per attempt in 2024, compared to averaging just 3.4 yards per attempt in 2023. Football can be a very complicated game, and sometimes there's complicated sounding play calls like gun east right slot 82 Titan Potter, but sometimes football is as simple as we are going to run the ball right at you, try and stop us. And if I were building a team in today's era, I would absolutely hammer the trenches, because that's where games are won and lost. Look no further than Detroit. And Tampa has done that over the past couple of years by selecting Cody Mauch in the 2nd round of the 2023 draft and Graham Barton in the 1st round of the 2024 draft. Oh, and having Tristan Wirfs certainly helps too. But when the Buccaneers made this selection, I don't think anybody thought Bucky would be on pace for a 1,300 total yard rookie season with close to double-digit touchdowns. And per PFF, he's also forced 38 missed tackles, which is 12th in the NFL, and is ahead of guys like Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Joe Mixon, and Breece Hall, all of whom have more carries than Bucky. We are in the middle of December, and one thing is clear: Bucky Irving is a beast. But he's not the only steal from the 2024 Bucs draft class. Tyke Smith has played phenomenal when he's been on the field for Tampa, and I know we haven't seen the duo as much as we would like in 2024 because both players have missed time due to injury, but the future of Tyke Smith and Antoine Winfield Jr. in the same defense is something no team wants to play. Tyke was really good at Georgia, and to be completely honest, I don't think the Bucs get enough credit around the NFL for how solid of a team they've built. You get a few comments here and there about Baker or about Mr. 1000 and Mike Evans, but this is a really, really good football team, and it's due in large part to how GM Jason Light has constructed this roster, and by drafting guys in the middle rounds like Tyke Smith and Bucky Irving. The Los Angeles Chargers are up, and full transparency, after the 2024 draft, I thought they were one of the biggest winners for a couple of reasons. I thought Joe Alt was a tremendous pick at number 5 overall, and I thought Ladd McConkey was a great pick too in the early part of the second round, in which they traded up in front of New England to go get him, who of course needed a receiver, in which New England eventually drafted Jalen Polk. I also really like Junior Colson from the Michigan Wolverines, and I thought with the first 3 picks that the Chargers were getting 3 good quality players that really, regardless of what they did for the rest of the draft, to me didn't matter because they were going to get 3 quality starters for the next couple of years. But I was wrong on the Junior Colson part, who has unfortunately disappointed through the early parts of his NFL career, but Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart have been tremendous as they were 5th round selections, and they were both selected in a 4-pick span. Tarheeb Still is from Maryland and Cam Hart is from Notre Dame, and if there's one thing in one position that NFL coaches can never have enough of, it's corner. If you are debating on a position for really any NFL team in the 2025 draft and it's time to do a mock draft, you can never go wrong with corner because no team has enough corners in today's era, and especially the Chargers, given that they are in a division with Patrick Mahomes, and what we did not know at the time was that Bo Nix would eventually be a good player as well. Of course, it had to be noted because he was a first-round pick, but I don't think anybody thought Bo Nix would have the start to his career that he's had. Now, when you factor in the rest of the AFC, whether it's the Josh Allens, the Burrows, the Lamars, the Russ, everybody else, CJ Stroud, you get the point. Corner play is essential, and to have 2 players in Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart is tremendous value for the Chargers because these are guys that are going to be around for a couple of years. The ages of the corners are 22 and 24 years old, and I don't want to get into a 5 or 6 year span with these guys because anything can change on a year-to-year basis, and corner play is really volatile in the NFL where somebody could be a first-team All-Pro one year and then they could be an average player the next year, but I think it is very, very promising that each of these guys are playing well as 5th-round rookies, and they are without a doubt draft steals. Tarheeb Still recently had a 2-interception game against the Falcons, including a game-winning interception that was a pick 6, in a game in which the Chargers won 17-13, and in a game where the offense didn't play well at all and the defense needed to step up. Jesse Minter has been a tremendous defensive coordinator in 2024, and I think he will eventually get head coaching looks, but it's been through the play of guys like Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart who have stepped up and have been draft hits by every definition of the word. Although Ladd McConkey was the 34th overall pick in the draft, I think you can argue that he's one of the bigger draft steals as well. He already has over 800 yards on the year, and he was the 9th receiver taken in the 2024 NFL draft. And there was a point where the Chargers were doing the Penei Sewell Jamar Chase meme with the number 5 overall pick, as there was a legitimate debate at one point as to whether they take Joe Alt or Malik Nabers. I think Malik Nabers would have been a tremendous player in this offense, and I think he could have had over 1,200 yards as a rookie, but Jim Harbaugh wants to physically beat teams up and be the tougher team, and we've seen that with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, and I think we will continue to see that with the long-term rebuild of the Chargers, that they will prove to be a great team over the course of the next couple of years, and I think there's a reason they are exceeding expectations relative to what they were heading into 2024. I think they will be a playoff team due in large part to the contribution from the 2024 class, which includes Joe Alt, who is of course a first-round pick, Ladd McConkey, the 9th receiver taken in the 2024 draft, and 5th-round corners Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart. The corner duo in the 5th round was without a doubt not just one, but 2 of the biggest steals in the entire 2024 NFL draft. The San Francisco 49ers have had a very tough year for countless reasons, but they absolutely nailed the 2024 NFL Draft. I do think Ricky Pearsall will be a good player, but that's obviously an extreme situation from the start of his NFL career, but they had one of the biggest steals in the 2024 Draft in 3rd-round guard Dominic Pooney. The 49ers have been one of the most successful organizations over the past several years, and there's several reasons as to why they've been successful, but the big one that far outweighs the others is continuously drafting good young talent. To be a good team in the NFL, you obviously have to have good players, but the underlying factor within this is you have to draft good young talent that outproduces their salary while they are on the rookie contract. Brock Purdy is, of course, the shining example for the 49ers, but Dominic Pooney is another, and he is already one of the better guards in the league. Not just the NFC West, not the NFC, but the entire league. With any offensive lineman, it's hard to put in the numbers how good they've been, but for reference, Pooney is the third highest graded run blocking guard in the NFL per PFF, who has logged at least 220 run blocking snaps. He is only behind Chris Lindstrom of the Falcons, who is a back-to-back All-Pro, and Kevin Zeitler of the Lions, who made the Pro Bowl last year for the Ravens and is now having a great year for the Lions. San Francisco has had a couple of running backs this year in Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason, and rookie Isaac Guerendo, who also plays a part in the biggest steals for the 49ers, by the way, but they are top 10 in every major rushing category: rushing attempts, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and of course, yards per carry. It wouldn't be fair to attribute the 2024 49ers rushing success exclusively to Dominic Pooney, especially when they've had repeated success under head coach Kyle Shanahan, but he certainly plays a part and is a very, very good player for the 49ers. Now, to the point of the 49ers drafting good young talent, safety Malik Mustafa is another great example, and he was a player a lot of analysts liked in the pre-draft process. I'll be honest, I thought Malik would be good, but I didn't think he would be this good this early in his career. I didn't think he would play much in his rookie year, but he's played a lot and has over 60 tackles, an interception, a couple of passes deflected, and even has a couple of tackles for a loss. The Malik Mustafa selection already panning out is huge because, like we said, the 49ers can't pay everyone, and Brock Purdy's contract is going to take priority over somebody like Talanoa Hufanga. I know Talanoa Hufanga is a tremendous player when healthy, but unfortunately this is a guy who's only played 13 games since the start of the 2023 season. Not every situation is fair in the NFL, and certainly not every player's health situation, but I have a very hard time believing this franchise commits a long-term contract to Hufanga at this point in time, especially when they can get 75 or even 80% of the production from Malik Mustafa for about 10% of the cost. Mustafa's cap hit in 2025 will only be $1.1 million, whereas Hufanga would want significantly more money, and I get it. You usually only get paid once as an NFL player, twice if you're lucky, and you have to do what's in your best interest for you and your family. Isaac Guerendo only has 57 carries on the year at this point, but he has played well when called upon. With the way the NFL is trending with split backfields, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him have a much larger role in 2025 and to continue building on what's been a good 2024 draft class. Also, shout out second round pick Renardo Green, as he has been very good for the 49ers as well. Now, I know it's been a very difficult year for the Giants as they are 2-11 and they have their 9th double-digit loss season out of their past 11 years, but Tyrone Tracy has been a very good player for the Giants and he was a 5th-round pick for them. He is second in rookies amongst rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, both behind Bucky Irving of the Buccaneers, but Tyrone Tracy has been a very good player and he's a guy that I think will be in New York for the next couple of years. Now, the losses for the Giants this year have not been fun, but it's also been a double whammy because former Giants running back Saquon Barkley is having an MVP caliber season for the Eagles, and he's less than 500 yards away from breaking the single season rushing record, and there's a very real chance he rushes for 2,000 yards. But the entire point that Joe Schoen was trying to make in Hard Knocks was that we can get 65% of Saquon Barkley's production for about a tenth of the cost. Now, I know Joe Schoen's general managing of the roster has not been great over the past couple of years, and there's been a lot of questionable decisions that he's made since becoming the GM of the Giants, but the point that he was trying to make within Hard Knocks is technically correct. Per Spotrac.com, Tyrone Tracy is only making around $866,000 in 2024, where Saquon signed a contract for an average of $12 million per year. There is also a significant difference in terms of where the Eagles roster is versus where the Giants roster is, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say the Giants would not be that much better if Saquon Barkley was on this roster. I don't think you look at this team and think that they go from 2-11 through 13 games to a 7-16 through 13 games because they have Saquon Barkley. So the overall point that Joe Schoen was trying to make with the cheaper running back was technically correct, and Tyrone Tracy has proven that through the first 13 games. I also think the Giants got a really big steal in corner Drew Phillips from Kentucky, and overall the Giants 2024 draft class, whether it was Malik Neighbors, Tyler Nubin, Drew Phillips, Theo Johnson, or of course Tyrone Tracy, they have a really, really good draft class on their hands here, and unfortunately the rest of the roster is not very good outside of maybe one or two players, but overall the Giants really killed the 2024 draft from the 1st through the 5th round, and Tyrone Tracy has been absolutely worth the pick and more. He is a very good back, and he will be a guy that's in blue for the next couple of seasons, and he was without a doubt one of the biggest steals in the 2024 draft. There are countless other draft steals from the 2024 draft, and ones I want to highlight include Evan Williams from the Packers, both Kamari Lassiter and Kalen Bullock from the Texans, Jarvis Brownlee from the Titans, and the Steelers had a couple of draft steals in Zach Frazier and Peyton Wilson, and if you would have told every resident in the city of Pittsburgh that Peyton Wilson would have the game he had against the Ravens a couple of weeks ago, then they would have signed off on that pick in the first round, let alone near the end of the third round. There's also been several other draft steals, including the Broncos duo of Jonah Ellis and Devon Valet, and it's overall been a really good 2024 draft class. This class was highlighted as one of the best in the past couple of years for a reason, and it's because there was talent not just in the first round, but all throughout the entire 2024 draft. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as we are closing in on 175k subs, and only about 41% of people watching are subscribed, and it helps the channel tremendously. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.